welcome back. Today I am finally tackling the last project that I need for my living room refresh. So far I've added a new rug, I've painted a side table, I added a fake olive tree in the corner and a new terracotta pot. And then of course I rearranged my furniture. I also replaced my old drop cloth curtains with some new pinch pleat curtains that I made out of this gorgeous linen fabric. I absolutely love how the curtains turned out. I'm really excited about that. And the other thing that I did was I decided to try and create my own landscape artwork, an original piece of art myself, instead of investing in a real piece or having something printed on canvas. There are so many wonderful places like on Etsy to download digital art, which I love doing that, especially when you print it on canvas. It always looks so real. I do have a lot of artwork like that up in my home. I knew I wanted to have a huge piece of art right above the sofa. We have one wall that doesn't have windows on it and it has shiplap on it, and I thought it would look really good with this huge landscape painting. The only downside to that is because I wanted it to be so big, it was gonna cost me hundreds of dollars to have it printed on canvas. So instead I decided to try and recreate kind of what I had in my mind of a landscape painting myself. So I went and I bought a canvas. I was able to snag a 4-foot canvas for half off, which cost me around $40. And because I was trying to do this budget friendly, I didn't want to invest in oil, so I decided to grab some acrylic paint. Now, I am not a professional artist by any means. I have painted a couple of things here and there in my life, but I've never attempted a landscape, and I've never attempted something quite this large. This is 3 by 4 feet. And it took me a couple of weeks to complete. This is the painting that I did for the living room. This is how it turned out. I'm really excited. I was most particular about the colors and the tones. Really wanted it to feel almost like an antique European landscape. But then when I got done with it, I realized how much it actually looks like our property here at Fletcher Creek, so that made me really happy. I love how it turned out, but it does need a frame. I didn't paint around the edges of the canvas because I planned on building a frame for it. So after looking at a lot of different frames online, of course, I decided I was gonna DIY the frame. I realized what I liked was a lot more simple, but with a little bit of detailing. And because this painting was so large, all the frames that I liked were around $500. Instead of buying one, I decided I'm just gonna make one. I've got 2 different types of really thin molding, and then I've also got some 1x2 pine. So in this video, I'm gonna quickly assemble a very inexpensive DIY frame for this canvas. And after I get it built, I'm gonna touch up the paint. I decided I wanted the frame to be black. So I did take some of the trim pieces and I painted them ahead of time. That way when I attached the frame to the canvas, I didn't have to worry about painting it afterwards. I probably will touch up a few places if I need to, as far as like filling nail holes from my brad nailer. And because it's already painted, it's gonna be really easy later to go back and just touch up a few areas where I use the nail gun. So my frame is 36 by 48. What I'm gonna do is just take a couple of measurements. I'm gonna cut all of my boards on a 45, and then I'm gonna use my brad nailer to just assemble it directly to my frame. Since the back of the canvas is solid wood, it'll make it really easy to just nail my frame trim pieces directly into the canvas. So I just took a measurement. I measured each end at 36. Actually, one end was a 1/16 shy of 36. So I can work with that. What I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna 45 the 1x2s on the corner. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut them and I'm gonna square it out. Because I'm going to like use a little bit of wood filler and paint over it, you're not gonna be able to tell if I have a 45-degree angle or if I just have a blunt cut on the end. So that's what I'm gonna do there. So I just came in from outside in the garage. I've got all of my 4 pieces of the 1x2s cut to size, and I've got a little bit of scrap. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna practice with my nail gun to make sure I have the pressure right. Sometimes I turn it up too high And what'll happen is it'll split the wood or it'll shoot the nail a little bit farther than you want it to. So I'm gonna practice on these scrap pieces before I practice on my frame. That way I don't create any problems for myself that I have to fix later. All right, so now that I have my 1x2s nailed on, the next thing to do is to add both of these little pieces of trim. And what I did was I put them together, the ends flush, and I cut a 45 inward on the right side and then facing out, the same thing on the left side. Let's see if I can hold it together to give you guys an idea. So I've got a 45 cut here, and that way I can attach both of these to my frame on top here and have that mitered look on the corners, and it'll meet up perfectly. Before I finish assembling this, I wanted to show you up close. This is not attached yet. It's just sitting here. I clamped one side. I kind of just pulled my frame out over the edge of the countertop. That way I could use my clamps, but here's how it looks. So I've got a 45-degree angle cut here, and then these two pieces, these are separate pieces here. But as long as I put them flush to each other and bring them in here, I should be able to attach them. I think what I'm gonna do is use a little bit of wood glue on these and then just tack them with my nail gun. Once I have all of these on, I'll fill all of the little holes with some wood filler, sand it a little bit, and then paint it all black. The other thing I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to re-sign it. You can kind of see I signed my name, and unfortunately I signed it a little too close to the edge, so my frame is gonna cover it. I'll probably just take a little bit of this green paint and cover that up. You can kind of see the top of my first two initials, and then I'll probably pick a lighter color, like a light green or maybe an off-white, and then I'll sign it a little higher here in the corner. What I ended up doing was filling all of the nail holes in the 1x2s and then the little trim that I used that was like shaped like an L. I didn't fill any of the holes in the beaded trim simply because when I used my nail gun, I tried to get it in between two little beads, and so it was completely hidden. And I think if I just touch it up with paint, it'll be fine. You won't be able to tell that those holes are even there. Once the wood filler was dry, I gave it a really light sanding. I was really careful to make sure that I didn't get it on my painting, and then after I sanded it, I did have a little bit of mess on the drop cloth, so I picked up my painting, I carried the drop cloth carefully outside, shook it off, so it was really, really clean, and I brought it back in. And now I've got my painting on the counter, and I laid it on a few pieces of scrap trim. That way it's up off the drop cloth for when I paint around the edges. I've got my frame built. I'm gonna go out in the garage, I'm gonna clean up my mess, and then as soon as I get back inside, I will show you what the frame looks like. So I have my painting all finished. I have the frame all finished. It was painted black and hung on my wall for a couple of days. And I really loved it. I loved how it looked. The only thing that was bothering me about it a little bit is that all of the detailed molding wasn't really showing up very well. It didn't pop. And I had one of my followers reach out to me on Instagram and suggest that I try using some rub and buff wax on the picture frame, which I thought was a great idea. I've actually never used this before, but after seeing a lot of different people use it online, I thought I'm gonna give it a try. And my favorite color was antique gold. And then I practiced on a couple of my scrap pieces of trim, and I found that the best way to apply this onto my frame, since it was already built, was actually by using a toothbrush. So I'm gonna use a toothbrush today to apply this to the entire frame. I'm not gonna put it on very heavy-handed. I'm just gonna do really light brush strokes just to give it a little bit of an antique look and to make all of the detail in the molding show up a little bit better.
So here's what the frame looks like up close, just with a solid black paint. And then you can see here on this little strip that I was practicing on, after I add just a little bit of this rub and buff, you can see how it makes the detail in the molding show up so much better.
Thanks for joining me today and hanging out and tackling this little DIY project. Now that I've got everything done, this frame was the last thing on my to-do list, and I'm so excited about how it turned out. It feels good to have the living room all finished and all put together. If you enjoyed this video today, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell so you can be notified for further videos. For more detailed information about how you can make this frame, be sure to check out my blog, fletchercreekcottage.com. Thank you so much for following along with me, and I will see you in the next video.